first presenter to talk about the federal building.
Yeah, so this is just our standard professional service agreement with A&E Design for the feasibility study. So they'll be the lead and the design team for working with the city and kind of going through the building and giving us an as-is assessment and potential cost estimates of making it a usable building for both city and county services. So do you guys have any, I guess, questions?
Yeah, or just, I think you'd said this in the past, but you really recommended these folks because they have a lot of historical experience.
Yep, so they have a historical architect. They worked on the courthouse, so they're kind of used to that whole historic preservation system. And yeah, we went through our standard RFQ process, and they put in a great application. So we're excited to work with them again.
That's great.
Well, I move that the board approve our professional service agreement with A&E Design.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, Casey, for shepherding this entire project. It's big and complicated, and I imagine kind of fun to work on for you.
Yeah,
well.
I'm excited for it. So,
yeah,
we'll keep you guys posted as we move forward. So,
thank you.
Yeah, have a good day. Thanks.
You too, Casey.
Thanks. Next up is our own John Hart to talk about Subdivision.
Good morning, Commissioners. What I have for you this morning is a document called a request for full reconveyance. Before I try to explain what that document does, let me tell you a little bit about the West Point subdivision, which this document is related to. The West Point subdivision is a multi-lot subdivision that was given preliminary approval in 2001, and phase 1 of West Point was platted in 2004. This subdivision is on the slopes above and north of I-90 and to the east of Butler Creek. So if you're driving down the interstate and you look up in that general vicinity, you'll see these homes being built at a fairly rapid pace now. And the developer and realtors are calling them the mountain modern look. So if you want to know what the mountain modern look is, check out these places up there. This is a unique subdivision because like I said, this phase was given final plat approval in 2004. Not all of the infrastructure was installed at that time, and so not uncommonly, the developer at that time brought to Missoula County a improvements agreement and guarantee. But by the Great Recession, that developer had gone bankrupt. And then after, for a number of years, the subdivision was in foreclosure, being foreclosed by some entity of Wells Fargo Bank. In 2015, Circle H Investments, LLC, of which Mark Bretz RV and Marine is the principal of that company. That company bought all of West Point out from the bankruptcy trustee, and since that time has tried to revive the subdivision and bring it to the point that it is today. It's a good subdivision in Missoula County. It's on city water, it's on city sewer. The lots are somewhat affordable, I think. They're smaller lots, but it's a good development, and it's the kind of development that that Missoula County wanted to continue to support, even though it had had some financial difficulties earlier in the century. So in 2016, myself, representatives from the planning department, folks from Public Works met with Mr. Bretz, his attorneys, and their representatives with WGM to come up with a plan that would help maximize the opportunity for them to continue to develop the West Point subdivision. And one of the things that was agreed to was that Missoula County would sign an improvements agreement and guarantee that lacked sort of the gold standard instruments that we like to see, like either a surety bond or more commonly the letter of credit that we see from a local bank. And in this case, we took a first priority security interest in many of the actual lots in phase one of the subdivision. And that's a somewhat more risky guarantee, because there's never an exact value that we can place on those lots from year to year, and it isn't always clear that the value of the lots, if we had to sell them, would be satisfactory to raise the money that then Missoula County would be obligated to have in order to put in necessary infrastructure if the developer was unable to do it. But there were a variety of reasons why this made good sense from a public policy and health and safety standpoint for Missoula County. So in 2016, the commissioners did take the lots, specifically lots 34A through 43C in the West Point subdivision in phase one of that. And that was to secure necessary infrastructure that had an estimated cost of $962,100. And I want to emphasize that amount, $962,000. That's a lot of money. I have not ever brought an improvements agreement to the commissioners for an amount that's more than that. Very typically, we're looking at maybe $100,000 to $300,000 or even less, oftentimes. So that was a risk for Missoula County. And again, there were a variety of reasons why that seemed like the right thing to do, and to work with Circle H Investments to make them, to maximize the opportunity for this subdivision to be successful. And today, I think I can report to you that it's a successful subdivision. They have now sold enough lots that they have put in all of that infrastructure. So they have, there isn't $962,000 worth of infrastructure yet to be installed and improved up there. It's all done. And so that gets me to this request for full reconveyance. What this document accomplishes, because Missoula County had an equitable interest in this property, a first position security interest in this property, and we no longer need that security interest because the infrastructure's in, Public Works has inspected it, it meets our county specifications. We can now, by signing this request for full reconveyance, essentially we're letting the trustee know that we no longer need or want to have an interest in that property, and so that's what I'm bringing to you today. It is for the signature of the chair of the commission, and I definitely recommend that we execute this document. And again, just emphasizing that while this was risky for Missoula County, it worked out, and we have a success story with the West Point Phase 1 subdivision. Commissioners, I've just said a lot there. Do you have any questions for me?
I was
going to say, John.
Oh, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Well, all I would say, John, was thanks for such a clear explanation. You did a great job, and I understand and appreciate that. And I'm really glad that the risk panned out, and we didn't have to dive into the real estate market to attempt to get this money back. I'm thrilled these folks did the $900,000+ worth of infrastructure improvements, and that it's done and it all worked. And this sounds like the obvious next step to deal with this reconveyance. So we give up our interest on this property as security because the work's been done and done successfully. So thanks for passing that on.
You bet.
And it was a riveting story because, man, I was kind of wondering where you're going with this. And I was like, is this going to be a good thing or a bad thing? So thank you.
I try to bring good things, but as you both are painfully aware, sometimes I bring bad things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's remember today.
They did the work. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I saw Andrew come on for a hot second, and I didn't know if he had a comment about this at all.
No, I don't. I'm just happy we got the money. I was worried that anytime you take a security interest in land like Glen Eagle or anywhere else, you're running a big risk. Good.
Yeah. I should note that our subdivision regulations currently do not allow us to take a security interest in land in lieu of subdivision improvements and infrastructure. We used to
really
do this
glad that's
historically
the
years
rule.
ago, but we don't anymore.
It's a really good rule that protects us. It'd be way better to have a letter from a bank.
Well then, did anyone else have any other comments on this? If not, I'm gonna motion that Josh signed the request for the full reconveyance of lots 34A through 43C.
Hey, thanks. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thanks again, John, for that really good explanation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Or thanks, Brett, for making it happen.
Yeah. All right, next up is Chris to speak on a PSA with Fifth House Consulting.
Good morning, Commissioners. So my story is not nearly as eloquent as John's, but I'll also try and make it short, or maybe pithy. I don't know which one I'll accomplish. So the Food Policy Board was established in this last year and would like to do some strategic planning to help define its mission and goals for the next few years. They've gone through and selected Fifth House Consulting to help them with that work. The total cost of the contract is $3,000, $1,500 of which is coming from the county's budget, $1,500 of which is coming from the city's budget. This is a city-county board, so the cost is being split between those two entities. So this is a small professional services contract that you have before you with Fifth House Consulting to do that strategic planning work with the Food Policy Board.
Thanks, Chris. And I've been involved with this Food Policy Board, and I'm really excited they're doing the strategic planning. It's a brand new board, and this will line them out for the next couple of years.
I'm thrilled, and yeah, it's so timely, and so yes, I want them to be successful, and so a strategic plan is important.
Good.
I'm gonna motion to approve. What am I trying to say? Yes, approve the professional services agreement with Fifth House Consulting.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Ellen, or if she may have sent someone. This is really exciting about an Abbott machine. So someone from the health department. Because I can't look, I'm not looking at video. I can't tell who is here or who is.
Ellen's actually here.
I'm here.
Oh, great. Well,
Hi.
thanks, Ellen. You are so busy. I would not have been surprised at all if you.
I almost missed the meeting. I
thing.
mean, I've been waiting for this meeting, and then I realized that the starting time already happened. But thankfully, we were having a wonderful story from John, and
Yeah.
so being in a good mood, let me bring this up. So you've heard us talk before about quick testing ability, and we already have a Abbott machine that was deployed from the State Health Department to Missoula at our request, and then have the hood installed, the protective hood. But in order to increase capacity, because the Abbott has the quick test has the benefit of getting same-day results, but it has the downside of limitations of how many you can run in a day. So we wanted to have more capacity than just the one Abbott. And our logistics folks have done an amazing job of researching how to get an Abbott from the company directly and how all of that works. And in a nutshell, you can buy one, which we chose not to do, or you can rent one. And if you rent it and sign an agreement that you will purchase within a year at least 900 test kits, that's really where the cost is. You actually don't pay the rental. And even if you did pay the rental, the cost is in the test kits. So we chose that option. I have no reason to believe we won't use 900 test kits in a year. So the contract I'm asking you to approve is for, I think it's a little over $33,000 for that purpose.
Great.
And then they will ship and we should be able to start using.
Great. I would think that Cameron or Martin might have questions.
Yeah.
Or Celebration.
Hey, Alan, it's Martin. Yeah, real quick. When do you plan on having these machines up and running and implemented into your testing strategy?
I hate to say that real soon, but I have to tell you, we already have the other Abbott here. We've done some testing of the Abbott. You have to validate your quick tests with the state reference lab for at least a month. So we did use that on one local outbreak. All the training's in place. We are waiting for 2 pieces of equipment related to the protective fan that I actually just don't know the name of. And when those go in, both of these machines, when the second one arrives, will fit under the fan. So when we get those parts, we can start. All the training's been done, the validation's underway, real soon.
Great. And lastly, how will that benefit your strategy, your testing strategy? How will it aid in what you're doing right now?
Well, same day results, it was always an option, not easily within reach. Because if we had to fund all of it ourselves at the local department, that would be difficult. But with the state health department agreeing to deploy one of theirs here and to supply us under their contract with at least 240 test kits a week, not at least, up to, depending on their supply chain, up to 240 test kits a week. That makes it feasible to even enter this approach. When I moved on actually going for it and bigger investments is when we were experiencing what was at least a 3-week, I don't even want to call it a lag period. It was a black hole of test results. And not only was that frustrating to the public, of course, that left us in those 3 weeks as a health department flying blind, because you cannot, if you can't identify if someone has COVID, you cannot identify who their contacts are, do contact tracing and quarantine. And so one of your major control measures is lost. And I didn't want to find us in that position again. So this will protect against that. There will also be instances where it will be particularly helpful. And I don't want to say we're limiting this to any particular arena of use except symptomatic people. We will not be looking at asymptomatics with this. This is not, I went for a trip, I want to find out if I'm okay. That's not the priority for the health department. It's for symptomatics for the reasons I just stated. But we may have an environment in which we could use it similarly to the hospitals use quick testing. And that is, they want to know on a healthcare worker, for example, if they're testing positive, they want to remove them from a certain environment right away and not wait 3 or 4 days, to see if they need to do that. We may be able to do that with some of our higher risk settings or clusters that could occur. U of M actually has an Abbott deployed to them through the state as well. And once again, it just gives you quicker results. And so your public health control measures can come in days faster. So that is the strategy. We will not quit running the regular PCR tests that are sent to the state lab, and those are coming back as expected, usually no more than 3 days at the time. And those will be for close contacts, or if we have too many people with symptoms and we can't get them all through the quick test on that particular day, we will use it for, so we'll have that diversity of resource, which shouldn't leave all our eggs in one basket, I guess.
And what
Ellen, are there benchmarks of numbers of contacts or active cases or something like that if we were to hit, you would look to using the Abbott as part of a surveillance testing strategy?
I don't have benchmarks. There's right now the federal, I'm trying to find the way to say this, the federal plan for surveillance testing is, it's belly up. So okay. There's the, now let me, bend the correct technical term a little bit and say there are sometimes a cluster situation where let's say you have perhaps, I'm just going to make this one up. Let's say you've got group living or something like that. You may say, well, these certain folks, we know our contacts, but these folks live together, but they live in this wing, but they share this. In that case, you might put a wider net out because it's very hard to know exactly where you did or did not have a contact in that. That's not the same as pure surveillance testing. It's just a wider net in your case investigation. And so we have done that and with non-quick testing. And we actually practiced our use and our validation on a similar case of the quick test. And it turned out to really work well for that purpose.
Thanks.
And Ellen, is this available? Because we have so many folks that live in Ravalli County but work in Missoula County. Is this available, or is this also are these quick tests?
If they're healthcare workers.
Okay, but then regionally, how many other counties are doing this?
I don't know of any others in the region. I do not know if Flathead as a health department has it. I do know that Gallatin outside of our region has it. But again, I made the request pretty early on and ended up getting the last one available.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not available for this rental from Abbott, but from the state cache that were deployed to different places. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
No, I'm all good. We're ready.
Okay. I thought my screen. Then I'm going to request that Josh sign the master agreement between Abbott Rapid Diagnostics North America LLC and Missoula County Health Department for our free rental and commitment to purchase a bunch of test kits and maintenance supplies.
Great. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Thanks.
Adrian, you're up with some more COVID stuff.
Yeah. So good morning, commissioners. What you have before you today is a request to sign a professional services agreement with Rogers International, which is a new private security company operating here out of Missoula. As you will recall, we have had private security at our non-congregate shelter since April. The previous contractor that we've had in place determined that they could no longer fulfill our staffing needs for that site. And so we found Rogers International, and they are willing to fulfill that mission for us. So I'm requesting that you sign the professional services agreement.
Great.
Does anyone have any questions?
It sounds like basically the same
Same
PSA
thing.
we had with the other company. We just have a new company.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the exact same purpose. Our primary concern obviously is the safety of the occupants and the staff that we have working there. And it's a pretty routine occurrence where we have individuals trying to approach the site or trying to access the site who are not authorized to be there. And this just gives us some added sense of security.
Great.
Great. I motion that the board approve professional services agreement with Rogers International for security services.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, Adrian.
You bet. And I'll stay on for discussion if you want to talk fires and other COVID things.
Excellent.
Great.
Good. Thank you. Okay, Cindy, you're up to talk Buena Vista wastewater.
Good morning, commissioners and everyone on the meeting. Yes, one last document, I hope, for the CDBG application. So this is a request that the board approve the chair to sign a uniform application for Montana Public Facility Projects. This is a cover sheet basically for the application. And it certifies that the CDBG application for the Buena Vista Community Wastewater System Improvement Project represents true and correct information. And you have already signed a couple of other documents that are making a similar commitment. So this is just adding one more layer of commitment. Any questions?
I'm glad we're going to help get a CDBG application in.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Is it true and correct?
It will be. We have a lot. It's a very complicated application with lots of moving parts, and it's due September 15th. I still have a lot of balls in the air, and it will not get submitted if I don't catch all the balls, and I can put everything together and submit a complete package. So this is typical. It's not an unusual situation to be in. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and absolutely we will not submit an application that is not true and correct.
We'll be juggling.
Thank you.
Keep juggling.
I motion that Josh sign the uniform application for. Am I on the right one? Yes, for the Montana Public Facility Project certifying the CDBG application for Buena Vista.
Great, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, Cindy, and thanks for coming to our all community council meeting as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that last night. Hope we get some applications.
Yeah, me too. It was very interesting. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
You too. All right, Jason Emery to talk about upgrading some technology in the Sophie Moise room.
Good morning. This is pretty easy. So what we are looking at doing is having AVI, who's our vendor that does most of our audiovisual work in courtrooms in Sophie Moise, to come and reprogram the system, as well as install some additional hardware and software to adapt that fairly robust video system that we have in that room to Teams usage. So what that would allow us to do is, when we get to the point of having public meetings again in that room, and they would most likely be hybrid meetings for the foreseeable future, that folks would have a better opportunity to participate in an interactive way with the folks that are in the room, if you were to, say, be in the room yourself. And it would give us all the capabilities of the camera feeds, the audio recording, folks being able to be heard if they're dialed into a Teams meeting, whether that be via their computer or a phone. So it just kind of provides all that seamless integration between, in person, on the phone, the MCAT broadcast, Teams, all of that. So this is CARES Act reimbursable. So we did verify that prior to looking at initiating this. So if you approve the purchase, we'll go ahead and get that going. And I would think probably in the next 6 weeks or so, we would have that functioning.
Great.
Wonderful. I look forward to the day where we have some in-person meetings and hybrids, even if they are. Well, thanks for moving this forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I motion that Josh sign the retail sales agreement with AVI Systems.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks,
Okay.
Jason.
Thank you.
All right, Eric, you got the next three.
Yes, I'll be the grand finale. So the first one, as we do every year, rather than advertise our own striping contract, we contact the successful bidder for the MDT Missoula District work. This year, that was Highmark Traffic Services here in Missoula. They agreed to extend the same unit bid prices to our work, which is much smaller in comparison to what MDT does, but they're in the area and working. So it's a company that we've worked with many times before, and they do good work. They're very helpful, very responsive. So we would recommend that the professional services agreement be executed.
I don't have anything to add. Oh, sorry, Josh, go ahead.
No, all I said was excellent. That sounds good.
I motion to approve the professional service agreement with Highmark Traffic Services.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Eric, and glad we can kind of piggyback on MDT there.
Yeah, it's so much easier for us to do it that way.
All right, please carry on to the next one.
All right, so this one has been developing since about 2017, as you can see on the date of the agreement that was provided by Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. So we have a public easement on Laval Creek Road, a dedicated county easement, and there are two stream crossing structures. We do not maintain this portion of Laval Creek Road, so it does put the maintenance of the bridges or the culverts as they are now in kind of a gray area for what our requirements are for maintenance. We've discussed many times over the years with different bridges that we do have an obligation to maintain a safe and passable easement, even though we don't maintain the road itself. So Fish, Wildlife, and Parks wanted to replace these two structures more from a water quality standpoint than a safety concern or maintaining a passable road concern. So they were able to secure $20,000 from Future Fishery funds and then another $10,000 from Trout Unlimited. So they have $30,000 cash to be used towards the replacement of these structures, and they also receive donated timbers from the State Department of Transportation that can be used. So they are putting together a pretty good package to bring to us that we can help them replace these two structures. The biggest obligation that they have, and that then comes to us, is that future fisheries funds, when they are used for improvements like this, there has to be a guarantee by the agency with jurisdiction over the easement that we will agree to inspect and maintain the improvements for a period of 20 years. So I don't think that's a big concern. Constructing a new timber structure that is going to be out of the stream channel and is on a very lightly used road. I don't see a concern from our point about the maintenance of those structures. So it falls right in line with some sort of obligation that we do have to maintain a safe and passable easement. So for the safety concern, for the water quality concern, I think it's a good project, and I don't think it's an issue that we commit to the maintenance of these structures for at least the next 20 years.
Great. Thanks.
And with that TU, is that TU the Montana chapter, or is it a local chapter? Which TU?
All I know is the contact is here in Missoula, so I'm assuming it's a local chapter.
Great. Okay. I move that Josh signed the stream restoration agreement with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
Yeah, I'm glad we can partner with them.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Sure.
And lastly, the Lindbergh Lake Bridge. I know John Hart has put a ton of effort into getting us to this point, so it's really wonderful to see this happening.
It's been an effort to get here, and I think I've updated you before, at least in emails. I know that the HOA has had questions up there through the summer, and we still don't have a definite timeline from L&J Construction. All I know is that they have been working on it, because I've said before, they have been asking questions about materials and some of the specifications in the plans. I know they've ordered the materials, and in fact, I think they have received the timber materials. So, but as a brief summary for anyone that may be listening, is that this is a bridge that was constructed through an RSID fund in the 1970s. And it was paid off, and by about 2015 there were some maintenance needs, and there was a debate about whether or not this was a private structure or a public structure, and we have resolved that, obviously, that this is in fact a public structure. So we are using RSID funds to pay for the improvements, and we had HDR, after a public bid process, had HDR commit to providing some design repairs for us. They completed those designs. We advertised construction bids for that work, and we received these 2 bids. L&J Construction was just over $67,000, and the other bid from TC Timeline was $193,000. So the L&J Construction bid fell within the engineer's estimate, and they are in fact a qualified firm that has done a lot of this bridge work around the state. So it's a good project. It's a necessary project, and we would recommend that the professional services agreement be executed, and then we can really start to pin down L&J Construction with a construction timeline.
Why was there such a dramatic difference between the 2 bids?
I'm not sure. I spoke with both of those contractors while the bid was advertised, and I don't know if TC Timeline made some erroneous assumptions, or if I want to say they're coming from Billings, which I don't think is a big problem, since L&J Construction is coming from Ennis. So they're both fairly far away. So I don't know what the big difference was with their prices.
Great. Well, let's hope it gets done soon, before winter.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
Yes, the biggest issue is for weather and temperatures is the epoxy coating that will seal the concrete deck, and with the temperatures that we still have now, both L&J Construction and HDR said that the temperatures that we see through September are more than adequate.
Great. Okay. I move that we approve the professional services agreement with L&J Construction.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks a lot, Eric, for all 3 of those.
Hey,
Eric.
Eric, before you leave,
yes.
I just I guess I'm going out of order here. Are you hanging out for a bit?
I can.
Okay. Sorry. I just had some questions about some trees on Salmon Lake, and then if we could get an update on like the leaking water situation out of the development park.
I'm not aware of that one, but I'll stay on the line and try to answer questions.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Okay, some correspondence. The other day, some folks approached us about a support letter.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Good morning, commissioners. So this is kind of a continuation of some project work that we've supported in the past. This proposal is a land and water conservation application that is being submitted by the U.S. Forest Service and Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for a project that they're calling the Bear Creek Lolo Trails Acquisition Project. And this would be the proposed acquisition of 2 parcels from the YT Timber Company. This is near Lolo, and it's about 1,040 acres between those 2 parcels, and it would then kind of fold into the Lolo Trails Landmark Acquisition Project that the Trust for Public Land has been working on with the Forest Service, and we had sent in support letters for those 2 Land and Water Conservation Fund acquisition projects in 2018 and 2019. So this is adding some additional acreage to the Forest Service's land base there. It has a lot of similar values as those other proposals had in terms of habitat and public access and recreation, and then some historic value as well with the historic trails that run up the Lolo Valley or Lolo Creek Valley. So they're looking for a letter of support to accommodate their application, and yeah, looking for signatures from the commission on that.
Yeah, they gave us a great presentation the other day, and I think we're excited to help support this.
Great. So then I'm gonna move to, I guess, that we write this letter, that we sign this letter of support. So
yeah, that's all we got to do. We'll sign it.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chet.
All right, we have discussion items. Adrian, would you mind giving an update on the wildfire situation? It sure has been smoky lately.
Yeah, you bet. So air quality is improving, though this morning it looks a little hazy out there. Most of our smoke is coming from California and Oregon fires, but but we are starting to see some smoke as well that infiltrates from down the Bitterroot. There are several fires that have kind of gone into what they call extended attack, meaning that they've been burning for a couple days, not significantly large. Most of them are 1/10 of an acre to 10 acres in size. They're all in Ravalli County at this point. And then the bigger fire that we have burning up in the Rock Creek, Welcome Creek Wilderness area is the Cinnabar fire. John Thompson's Type 2 incident management team took that fire over this morning, and right now that fire is wholly in Granite County. The path that fire will likely take might clip into Missoula County, right near the Valley of the Moon. And so today we're working with them to get contact with those property owners to start to do some scouting up in that area. But right now we don't have any concerns for structure protection or any kind of evacuation concerns at this time. We are looking for a cool down next week, and so we're hopeful that the lightning that passed through, we didn't take a whole lot of lightning in Missoula County in the last 48 hours. There still is some in the forecast, but the cooler temperatures next week are certainly a bright spot for fire season.
Great.
And yeah, if there's any questions or anything else disaster related we want to talk about. I think I did send correspondence to the commissioners, but just for the rest of the audience here, due to COVID-19 considerations and just the complexity that brings to a fire management organization, they are doing things a little bit different in that their main base camp or their incident command post is actually going to be at the bottom of Butler Creek, just north of I-90. So as folks are traveling by, they'll see that there is the familiar fire camp going up there, though it looks a little bit different. It's quite spread out. Additionally, they will have 2 what they call spike camps, so much smaller camps where they'll be hosting crews and feeding the crews out of those areas. One kind of near Florence, and then the other one over in Granite County. And again, that's just to try to keep the crews as segregated as possible. They're operating under what they call a module of 1, so that in the event that they do get a positive case of COVID amongst some of the crews, that the contact tracing is much easier, but it's also, they have some assurances that those crews have been somewhat segregated from each other.
That's really smart. Thanks.
You bet.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any anything to say on upcoming board meetings or review meetings or anything like that?
Commissioners, this is Dory. So I just wondered, in this afternoon's public hearing, I'll be presenting the development agreement with Bonner Property Development. I think it's pretty straightforward, where the county will be, if you accept it, if you approve it, will be committing up to $3 million in tax increment funds for the project, with lots of considerations in that contract. It's been through lots of review, but I know DEQ or public services, there'll be quite a few people at least calling in or chiming in. I don't know that there's public comment, but I just wanted you to know that they will be available if there are any questions, and that will be before you this afternoon.
This is on the repository, right?
Correct. This is for the removal of the
repository. That's a big thing. It's been a long time in the works.
A long time, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. If and I'll talk about this afternoon, of course, but if all goes as planned, it will be done before the middle of December.
Great. Wow.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Maybe, oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm excited to hear about the water situation.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's complicated. It's different because even though those properties are listed as county parks generally, so the calls often go to parks, but it's managed by the Property Owners Association. But we don't really have someone in charge of that right now, which I'm working on. But I did talk with Rainmaker this morning, and it has been shut off, and they'll go back next week. It's about a 5 or 6 hour repair, but they said it had been turned off. So that's good to know.
That's good news. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Do we have any other communication needs or requests?
Commissioners, go ahead.
I was just going to say the only thing I had was just I circled back on the video with you guys about probably waiting until after the budget is adopted to do that, especially with Dave needing to be out. And I think Juan, you already responded in favor of that. So if that's okay, we'll just go ahead and do that.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, I'm all for it too, and I liked Juan's suggestion that the 5 of us kind of huddle up and really make a plan.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Allison.
And
okay.
Oh, I was wondering if Eric could educate me. There's a bunch of dead trees on Salmon Lake on the highway, and I didn't know. Like, I feel like in a windstorm. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but that they would come down and cause problems. Is that a that's not a county concern? Is that a MDT concern?
Yes, that would be.
Do you know if they've been talking about it, or folks have been talking about it, or who we should ask?
I haven't heard. We can certainly bring it up. Is there an exact location, or is it just in general along Salmon Lake?
It seems to be worse kind of near the Island Lake Lodge.
Okay.
And like there's so about midway up the lake.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely, if we don't talk to them about it separately, we can certainly talk about it at our monthly update meeting with MDT.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Great. Well, do we have anything else? Great. Well, let's call this adjourned, and thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.